Kia ora and welcome to the England T20I. I'm the Diggity Dude, Dr. Pepto Panther, Mr. Slippers here, back with another doosra coming at you after the Blackcaps defeated England in the second T20 International. The Blackcaps won by 21 runs in Wellington, so we're going to roll through that. It's just going to be a hard and fast little wrap up, and we will get back into podcasts with the Wobbly Wildcard over the coming days. We've got Plunket Shield cricket to talk about. Obviously, we're a couple games into this Blackcaps series against England, so there are more cricketing matters to discuss with the Wildcard, as well as our full smorgasbord menu of other sports as well. A-League, basketball, rugby league, all of that stuff is there and will be here over the weekend. But we are starting the week off with cricket tings, T20 ting, things. I prefer to say things because tings is a very UK ting. In Aotearoa, we tend to say things, so I'm all about the things. I'm all about the keeping it real to our Kiwi roots, so I'm all about the things. And Blackcaps batting things started with a first innings score 176, 8 wickets down off their 20 overs. Good runs from Martin Guptill, 41, at a strike rate of 146. Tim Seifert, 16. Colin de Grandhomme, 28, strike rate of 233. That was the highest Blackcaps strike rate of the innings. Ross Taylor, 28, at a strike rate of 116. And Jimmy Neesham, 42, at a strike rate of 190. Plenty of little interesting notes in that batting innings, but we'll swing down to the bowling innings from the Blackcaps because this is where they kind of won the game. That first innings was solid. I think any T20 score around that 170 mark, especially in New Zealand, you kind of need between 150 and 200 if you're going to win games in Aotearoa and T20 cricket, I believe. 176, solid. You can defend that as long as you bowl well. Like, it's not going to be easy for against a lot of these batting lineups around the world, but 176 is defendable. And then the Blackcaps bowlers came out and did the job. You had Tim Southee, 4 overs, 2 wickets at 6.25 runs per over. Lockie Ferguson, 4 overs, 2 wickets, 8.5 runs per over. Mitchell Santner, 4 overs, 3 wickets, 6.25 runs per over. Jimmy Neesham, 2 overs at 11.5 runs per over. He got a bit of a tonk. Ish Sodhi, couple of wickets, 4 overs, 2 wickets at 9.25 runs per over. And Big Dazza Mitchell, 1.5 overs, 1 wicket, 4.9 runs per over. Lockie Ferguson and Mitchell Santner bowled the most dot balls. They both bowled 12 dot balls, and Tim Southee bowled 11 dot balls, and that's the meat and drink of the Blackcaps bowling lineup, and those lads all did a fairly solid job, far better than they had done down in Christchurch. And of course, a couple of wickets for Ish Sodhi to get back on track. So that was the overall situation, and we'll just come back to this batting lineup just to touch on some key talking points here. This is an ongoing situation with Colin Munro, but at the moment it's as per our last discussion about Colin Munro. He had a score of 7, and he did bang a big old 6, which was good for him, but I just keep referring back to that Sri Lanka series, and against Sri Lanka, Colin Munro, 3 games in Sri Lanka, he averaged 8.33, which is a sign that you probably need to score some runs in your next series. And then that next series is the series where Colin Munro is averaging 14 after 2 innings. So there is a situation of Colin Munro not quite getting the runs he needs to continue to demand selection moving forward, primarily in this T20 team. And if Colin Munro can't hold on to his spot in the T20 team, there's little to suggest that he's going to be able to hold on to his spot in the ODI team, which could be something to keep an eye on. This series is a 5-game series. The summer is a long summer of cricket, so I don't want to overreact to any of these situations, and just a general kind of rule of thumb here, I'm only talking about Colin Munro's situation because it's been this way over a reasonable period of time. Like, Colin Munro has scored runs at certain times to ease up that pressure. He's had a big old knock here to get all the haters off his back. But the general situation has been that Colin Munro's kind of under pressure, and that escalated at the World Cup to some extent. He did have him and Martin Guptill started on fire against Sri Lanka, but as the World Cup got serious, there weren't many runs to be had for those two up the top of the order, especially Colin Munro. And then he goes to Sri Lanka, and in his best format, T20 cricket, Colin Munro isn't overly effective, averaging 8.33. I think, just off the top of my head here, I could look this up, I'll go hard and fast. I think he had like 150 plus score in between 9 and 12 innings in the Caribbean Premier League as well. So it wasn't a destructive Caribbean Premier League for Colin Munro, and now he's here in this series still struggling for runs. So the only reason I'm talking about this situation is because it's a situation over a long period of time. And that means that Colin Munro might come out in better form the rest of the series. For him, I hope so, because he's in an awkward little spot where he doesn't look at ease in this arena. I said it in the last episode. Guys like Daryl Mitchell have come in, they look comfortable. You watch Tim Seifert bat, he just looks comfortable in this arena, where Colin Munro just looks a bit awkward. Obviously he's down on confidence, and weird things are happening at the crease. And this is, batting wise, I'd suggest this is the key thing to watch out for through the rest of this series, is whether Colin Munro can actually do something, or if we are seeing the Colin Munro kind of fall away. Interesting little narrative, keep an eye on here. And his strike rate's only 112. Now, Colin Munro is 12th in runs in the series. Obviously, you've got only so many batsmen in the series. He is ranked 12th in runs overall, and he has the lowest strike rate of any of those 12 batsmen who have more runs than Colin Munro. So we tend to think of Colin Munro as Mr. 150 strike rate every game. That's just a term I made up right now, but you tend to think of Munro as giving it a fair old crack. In the series, he has only got a strike rate of 112, and that's not Colin Munro. So Colin Munro hasn't got many runs, and he hasn't got many runs in the... he has done that in the way that he tends not to score runs as well. It's a very weird situation with Colin Munro that we will just keep an eye on moving forward. There was also a bit of a discussion around Colin de Grandhomme. I just find the whole Sky Sport commentary situation in this series, I don't know how it's going to look moving forward. I touched on that last time as well. There's a couple of the guys who we are very familiar with in that commentary team who aren't commentating in the series. The whole Mike Hesson, Craig McMillan presence in the commentary team is just fucking weird. Especially when they're talking about Colin Munro, and Colin Munro probably shouldn't have swiped across the line of a great ball from Lewis Gregory, his first delivery in T20 internationals. Good length, nipped back a bit, hit the top of off stump, and Colin de Grandhomme being Colin de Grandhomme, swiped across the line, kind of ugly, and he just got bowled. That's what Colin de Grandhomme, has done throughout his whole entire career. Colin de Grandhomme is, and this isn't to be negative, because you bat however you want to bat. Like, if that's got you to this point, bro, you just keep doing it. I don't give a shit. But no point in his Blackcaps career, even flowing into Test cricket, has Colin de Grandhomme shown anyone that he takes time to settle into either the start of his innings or the next phase of his innings. Colin de Grandhomme simply gives the ball a fucking whack. That's what he does. That's who he is. That's why he's in this Blackcaps team. Colin de Grandhomme's job and his skill set is not to recognise, we just lost a wicket here, I need to play within myself and set up the next 5 overs with Ross Taylor. We just need to manipulate a couple of singles, get the twos on the board, hit the bad balls to the boundary. Nah, Colin de Grandhomme just whacks the ball. That's who he is. And you've got these commentators saying, oh, I'd really like to see Colin de Grandhomme just take a couple of balls here and just take his time. You know, they lost the wicket to Martin Guptill. He should really recognise the game situation. Have you watched Colin de Grandhomme bat? Do you know who this dude is? And these comments are coming from like either people who have watched Colin de Grandhomme a lot as part of the Sky Sports commentary team, or they were coaching him. They were coaching him. They were telling him what to do. And now they're in the commentary box and they don't know what Colin de Grandhomme does. Bro, it was just so weird. It's so strange having those dudes talking about it. But maybe the fact that Colin de Grandhomme, he's batting number 4, he should, you know, switch on upstairs the top 2 inches, as we've heard about many times. Sport is all about the top 2 inches. Colin de Grandhomme, he's been batting number 4. That's a place where you need to be displaying batsmanship. You need to have some craft to your innings. You need to bat like a real sensible batsman. Here's where I offer a bit of nuance and opinion, because I believe Colin de Grandhomme is batting number 4, which is an amazing promotion for Colin de Grandhomme. If you're like, I've been watching a lot of UFC, and the rise of George Masvidal has happened over the space of less than 12 months. He's gone from being just a solid fighter to an amazing world-class, one of the most recognizable figures in the world, along with someone like Israel Adesanya. Rapid rises to the top after earning their stripes in the lower leagues. That's what Colin de Grandhomme's done. He's been on the domestic scene for a long time, and then he steps up to the Blackcaps, and he just makes every post a winner, apparently. Like, some might disagree that, you know, about that sentiment, but in the Blackcaps, Colin de Grandhomme's just risen. He came in, you know, he might be an all-rounder, and now he's like, and then he opens the bowling in the Test team, and now he's batting number 4 in the T20 international team. Colin de Grandhomme has had a beautiful time as a Black Cap. And here he is batting number 4 in the T20 team. I just think that is purely because as a stylistic element of this Black Caps T20 team and how they want to play their cricket, I am noticing, this is my observation, that they've gone with the hitters up top, then Ross Taylor comes in to settle things down. And then you've got the guys down the order who can hit the boundaries and do that stuff as well. I don't think Colin de Grandhomme is batting number 4 because he's a good batsman. I think Colin de Grandhomme is batting number 4 because he gives it a fucking whack. That's why he's there. And they want as many whackers up the top. Tim Seifert gives it a whack in a classy fashion. Martin Guptill gives it a whack in a classy fashion, but they are aggressors. They are stroke players. They are strikers of the ball. Munro and de Grandhomme, they just give it a whack. Either way, you've got guys who hit boundaries. Those are your top 4 batsmen. Then you've got Ross Taylor in at number 5, and he's amazing. But the point here is that Colin de Grandhomme is not batting number 4 because he can play a forward defensive shot and turn the ball into the leg side to get a single. Or drop it, soft hands on the offside, get a single. Colin de Grandhomme is batting number 4 because he fucking smashes the ball. And the Blackcaps are obviously looking for the power up top, and then Ross Taylor comes in. Both times these first 2 games, Ross Taylor has come in 9th or 10th over, 3 wickets down, and he just does the job. I love Ross Taylor, and I love what Ross Taylor's doing in this T20 team. He only got 28 off 24, but it was a similar innings to that in the previous game, and these innings are so important because they set up the whole back-end onslaught. You lose 3 wickets, the innings is kind of in the balance. You're 10 overs deep into your innings, it could go either way. You could lose, like if not Taylor, but someone else, a couple more middle order wickets fall, then you're looking at a score of 130, 140, 150. But because Ross Taylor comes in, 28 off 24, couple, boundaries, but mainly just controlling the innings, his innings in itself sets up the possibility of getting 170, 180, 190 in these games. So Ross Taylor first 2 games, he's been the most important figure in that batting lineup. Game 1, it was Daryl Mitchell doing the hitting in the back end. Game 2, it's Jimmy Neesham. As I alluded to, Jimmy Neesham coming in for Scott Kuggeleijn. Great move. Extra batting and similar bowling. Like, at this stage, in the Blackcaps, in international career, I wouldn't suggest that Scott Kuggeleijn's way better than Jimmy Neesham bowling-wise. In domestic cricket, maybe, but in the international arena, Jimmy Neesham does a serviceable job with ball and can obviously bat. So that's just how the batting lineup works at the moment. You got the hitters up top. Ross Taylor settles the innings, not settles it down. He settles the innings. He controls the innings. He's the big dog. He's Matua Taylor out there in the middle doing whatever the fuck needs to be done to ensure that his team, because he's Matua Ross Taylor, this is his team, he is doing everything he can using his skill set to ensure that his team is put in the best position after 20 overs. He's done it 2 games in a row. And to be honest, if we look at his overall record, he's done it a lot over the recent years. His 2019 average is now at 33, and last year he was averaging 38 in T20 international in cricket. So these are still his best 2 years apart from 2012, which he's played like maybe 13 years of T20 international cricket, and these last 2 years are two of his 3 best years of T20 international cricket. Pick it up for Ross Taylor. Just another thing I've noticed here, you'll hear these commentators, they'll say access the boundary. So rule number 1, if you want to act like a cool kid in your cricketing circles and you want to use the trendy language, I quite often I just say give it a fucking whack, smack the ball to the boundary, because you know how we are at the Niche Case, we don't give a fuck. But all these trendy cool kid cricket folk, they're gonna say access the boundary. This guy, yeah, he's really good at accessing the boundary. So if you wanna be a cool kid, just say access the boundary. I can access the boundary. The other thing that has popped up in these first 2 games, these are the first 2 games of our Kiwi summer. The other little thing that's popped up is pace off. Alright, so you'll hear everyone in this commentating team say pace off. And then we're coming in pace on. We're going to bowl pace on. And then we're going to go pace off. This just means slower balls. Pace off means slower balls, but because of the cool kids, they got to use the latest language, and this is obviously impacted by having guys like Mike Hesson and Craig McMillan coming from the playing group into the commentating team. And then I've also noticed it with the English commentators as well, who are just around cricket a lot and have greater exposure than the New Zealand commentators to the cricket folk. Pace on, pace off. So for example, Hagley Oval first game, was a great pitch to bowl pace off. Take the pace off the ball and you get the cutters, you get the variation, you get some nibble off the pitch. Pace on, pace off. Slower balls, full pace. So if you want to be a cool kid again, just say pace off. Yeah, I'm going to bowl pace off. Ooh, yeah, look like Lockie Ferguson came in and bowled pace off. If you want to be a cool kid, just say pace off. Just say accessing the boundary. I'll say it, but I'll try and take the piss out of it. And these little cricket terminologies and whatever you want to call it could flow into your everyday life. You could be like, you've got that mate who just goes full hundies, everything he does, yeah, he's pace on. Oh, that dude's just pace on all the time, never pace off. Or you might meet a crafty bugger. You know, a guy who, a little bit of sarcasm, he's a bit of a finesser, a bit of a geezer. You might say, oh, that dude, he's pace off. He's always got the variations coming. Or you might come and say, yeah, bro, that dude, he accesses the boundary. Which, you know, he hits boundaries. That's what he does. He goes big or goes home. He accesses the boundaries. So we might integrate some of these cricket little terminologies into everyday life. If you're one of the few people listening to this, hit us up with how you use these little idioms, maybe. how you use them in your everyday life, because I'm going to try and incorporate them. The bowlers. It was a big game for Ishodi, I reckon. 2 wickets. Not the most dominant bowling performance in this game, but I did highlight in the last episode after game 1 that Ishodi he's almost in that Colin Munro situation. He's not now because he did get wickets, and he did get pumped by Chris Jordan, but he took his wickets, and Ishodi is there to take wickets, the most important thing. So he's rectified his situation because he was low-key struggling in T20 international cricket, but he's got back on track. Mitchell Santner's obviously the man right now. Big wickets in either game. He's leading all wicket takers, got 6 wickets for the series, average at 8 for the series, and only conceding 6 runs and over. And you look at the overall rankings, Mitchell Santner isn't just the best spinner or the best bowler, he's the only spinner who has taken more than 3 wickets in the series. So in terms of wickets, it goes Mitchell Santner, Chris Jordan, Sam Curran, Tim Southee, Lockie Ferguson, then we get to Adil Rashid and Ishodi. So Mitchell Santner is just currently operating at a completely different level to every other spinner in this series. The other, shout out Tim Southee. Tim Southee doesn't get much love from Kiwi cricket fans because some might say he's overrated a little bit. This year in T20 international cricket, Tim Southee's averaging 22.8 with the ball. Now, last year he averaged 25 with the ball. Year before that, 2017, he averaged 28. So these last few years, T20 international cricket, Tim Southee's been a damn good performer for the Blackcaps. 2014 he averaged 30. 2015 only 1 game, averaged 45. So he's been a bit up and down prior to this patch. But Tim Southee, 2019, 9 games, good sample size there, averaging 22 with the ball. So just Tim Southee, just ease up on your disdain for Tim Southee. He's doing an alright job. Maybe in that first game, just captaincy-wise, I would have liked to see more Daryl Mitchell or Colin de Grandhomme on a pitch that suited the pace-off bowlers. That's all we heard was how the pitch was, and obviously you could see it as well. Slower balls were getting a lot of nibble off the pitch, and that felt like it suited Daryl Mitchell and Colin de Grandhomme and how they bowled. But Tim Southee just stuck to his frontline bowlers, and this game we did see Daryl Mitchell bowl 1.5 overs. Jimmy Neesham bowled, he did get pumped, but he did bowl, which is a good little change-up. So just some captaincy stuff there with Tim Southee, observing how he is captain and how he does operate. But just generally, this was a far better bowling performance from the Blackcaps. Sharper, more intense, better in the field. And if we're looking at a bigger picture here, we've had one game, game 1, crappy performance, they lose. Game 2, far better performance, better fielding effort than England, better bowling effort than England, and they win. So we've had good and bad. Win and loss, which for me, other than kind of making these observations on any trends that are present in the Blackcaps T20 team, now I'm just eager to see where this series goes from here, because England fired all their shots in Game 1 at the same time of New Zealand being below par. Game 2 saw New Zealand fire their shots and England were below par. So what's going to happen in these remaining games is going to be very interesting, and just to see who settles down into their groove the best and the quickest, and who can emerge from this series as the dominant force, because I think England are going to keep rolling their players through. Who was it? Tom Curran, I think, missed this game just because he was coming back from injury and they want to rotate their squad. So you're going to have these kind of changes going through the England team, I think more so. There will be changes for the Blackcaps because Lockie Ferguson drops out, and I think it's Trent Boult who comes back in for the last 2 games. So we have to expect those up and down performances when part of this series is about putting different players into different situations to see what they can do, which lends itself to inconsistency. So just with those changes, we have to expect some inconsistencies, but I'm also interested and eager and hopeful to see a team settle into their groove and just, from a New Zealand perspective, just play a consistent level of cricket with some variance, good and bad, but just settle into a groove of T20 international cricket against England over these next few games so we can actually start to assess, how good the Blackcaps are in T20 international cricket, because we've seen good and bad. If there was one thing we do know about this Blackcaps team, Test T20 ODI, they bounce back. This is not a group of cricketers who can be consistently dominated. They might put in a poor performance, but the great thing about this Blackcaps team is that you can almost guarantee they'll rectify their issues in the next game, and they'll show up in a far better place in the next game, which is like, you can't expect a team to just be, especially a New Zealand team, like we kind of lend ourselves to inconsistencies just with our situation and being New Zealand, I guess. Just how this Blackcaps team bounces back has always been an encouraging thing for me, and we've seen it here. Game 1, not so good, very good in Game 2. Now we wait and see what happens in the remaining games of the series. Game 3 in Nelson tomorrow, so watch out for that one, and watch out for more podcasts on your Nichecast feed, however you get it, however you take it. We're going to be here, and thank you for listening. Obviously, as always, the best way to support the Nichecast is on Patreon, so jump on Patreon if you do like what the Nichecast is doing, and support us straight up the guts, hand to hand, and we greatly appreciate you listening and taking the time to listen and read our content. And for anyone out there supporting the Nichecast, keep it up, kia kaha, stay beautiful. What a Monday, magical Monday, sun shining. Let's go!